Welcome to another edition of Two Up Front. I'm Baxter Colburn, joined by Simon Provan. It's been a while since we've been on the air together, Simon, but we are back and better than ever. How you doing today?
I'm doing much better than I was last week, I'll tell you that.
You were sleep deprived.
Yes.
We felt so bad that we had to cancel the show, but it was for a good cause. You were in the process of opening your show. You're one of the theater professors at the college that we both go to, and it was opening weekend, and everything went well for that?
Everything went great, yeah. We had a wonderful show, but yeah, it was up till midnight or longer, 6 days in a row, so it was...
I can see how you'd need a day off for that.
Yeah, but you offered it to me, and I gladly took you up on it.
I'm so glad
you.
that you took it, Simon. But we are back. We have 2 shows this week, so definitely keep an eye out for that. We are here today, and then our normal time on Thursday as well. We've got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about today and on Thursday as well. Allison Phillips from the Wisconsin Sports Group is going to be here today, so we're excited to have her on shortly. But before we get to her, Simon, where can the good people find us on social media?
They can find us on Facebook at 2 Up Front, and then on Twitter at 2 Up Front Soccer.
That is correct. And you can also listen to our show right here on Spreaker.com as well. And then for those of you, you can also watch us on thecube.com as well. So there's multiple different ways to keep an eye on us. It's a lot of fun. We continue to grow. But Simon, you're going to laugh at me. I had a thought this morning as I was in the shower, Simon, and normally that's not a very good segue.
I'm already a little uncomfortable here.
It is, and I'm sorry about that. And I don't know why, of all places, this is where I had this thought, but I had this thought that I miss Landon Donovan.
Really?
Randomly in the shower,
Yeah.
I'm like, I miss Landon Donovan.
Although I appreciate the commercial he has with Wells Fargo.
I love
Don
that commercial.
Ovan.
Yes, that's a great commercial. It's I don't know the hat trick guy or whoever
Right,
the other
yes.
guy. Like he's
Hat
the
Trick
best
Dan.
player. Yeah, pass the ball to him. But I miss him after watching the 2-0 victory for the U.S. men's national team. MLS season is in full swing, and now I'm like, I miss Landon Donovan. I knew he wasn't going to play anymore, obviously, but for some reason in the shower I was like, wonder how Landon Donovan's doing. I don't know why.
Yeah, reality
I did my
just hit you.
deepest thinking in the shower, I think.
Right,
That's what it is.
yeah.
I do a lot of show planning in the shower.
No, I'd still love to see him with the U.S. team. I mean, he's got plenty of left in the tank as far as physically, but
I think so.
Mentally he doesn't, and that's very important to keep in mind.
You need both aspects. It's
Yep.
one thing to be able to run up and down a field and score goals, but if you're not passionate about it and mentally there, it's not going to be anything.
And it sounds like he's actually, he's been dealing with depression issues for years, and I'll frankly say people don't give him enough credit for that. You break a leg and people expect you to take the time to recover.
Yeah.
That's a bigger conversation we need to have in this country about if you got something going on wrong in the upstairs, you got to get that taken care of too.
Exactly.
So
and some of that, there's concussion protocol, there's all that kind of stuff that can lead into it. But yeah, I had that thought today. I'm like, Simon would appreciate that. Landon Donovan, what a guy.
I was a big fan.
I am too. And as we have a Julian Green jersey behind us, it's kind of ironic anyway. But Simon, I know you're excited about the announcements we have
Very
today.
excited.
But we
It's
only
awesome.
can say it in such a way, but not the same way as that Allison Phillips can. So I'd like to welcome Allison onto the show now.
Come on in here, Allison.
We're excited to
Hi,
have her
guys.
back.
Thank you for having me back.
You didn't bring Everton with you this week.
No, I was smart this time.
Well, I had a good time with him. He was a nice guy, very witty.
He's okay.
Brazilians
He's
are
all
like
right.
that, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how it is. But we're excited to have you
He
back.
shows me up a little bit, so I don't want him to come back.
That's kind of how Simon and I are too. Like he kicks me out of why. It's like, okay, you're not. Go away.
Right,
But
exactly.
it's kind of how it is. But we're excited to have you back. You've got some new announcements for the Wisconsin Sports Group, but then also for our show as well. So we'll hand the mic over to you.
All right. Well, first of all, we're really, really excited that we are now sponsoring this wonderful radio show that you guys have going on. We're, I think, your first official sponsor.
You are.
official
Congratulations.
sponsor.
So we're
Thank
excited
you.
about that, and we look forward to partnering up with a lot more things coming on that Wisconsin Sports Group has to offer.
And I'll say that you're already working on a logo for the show.
You are.
Very
yes.
close to
We're
having
very
a
excited
completed
for
one.
that.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty good so far. So I don't know when you guys are going to unveil that, but
There'll be a huge party, I'm sure. We'll have a gala.
big gala. Can I be invited?
Yes. Yeah, of course.
All
Sure.
right. All right. So,
In fact, I think it'll be the three of us.
Probably be like, look, here's the logo. Oh, cool.
it looks good.
Yay! Cheers water or something, But no, that's exciting.
exciting,
The
yeah.
first official sponsor of Two Up Front. The partnership I need to thank Simon for because you guys go way back, whether or not you admit to being friends with him or not in college. You were, and
were.
we had you in
You
Everton
were.
on a few weeks ago to talk about the Wisconsin Sports Group and the PFL, the Professional Futsal League. And now not only is the partnership between the two of us growing, the WSG is also growing.
Yeah, the WSG, Wisconsin Sports Group, is Keith Tozer. who's the commissioner of PFL, myself, and then Everton, who played for Milwaukee Wave and now Chicago Mustangs. So it's a pretty good group of 3 different people coming together who all have different, strengths at different things. So we're excited about that. And it's growing a lot faster than we thought it would.
It's a good problem to have.
I know, right? Can't complain. We have some exciting news for anybody who wants to come down next Tuesday at Lincoln Park at 11 o'clock. We are holding a press conference to
Lincoln Park in Milwaukee, not Chicago.
Not Chicago.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
Lincoln
sure.
Park,
Yes.
in
Lincoln
Milwaukee,
Park,
Wisconsin.
That's nothing against Lincoln Park in Chicago. Just
No.
want to make sure.
No,
that
but-
I don't want to send people to the
know
wrong
which-
press
right,
conference.
exactly,
Be like,
yeah.
where is everybody? Be like, you're so close, yet so far.
But look, yeah. I don't even have anything witty to say to that. But yeah, Lincoln Park in Milwaukee. 11 o'clock, we are going to have a press conference with us in Milwaukee County Parks. So
Okay, for
Yeah.
a big unveiling that you can't reveal
yes, that
yet.
I cannot
but
tell you, otherwise nobody will show
It'll be
up.
worth it, though. It'll
But
definitely
it will
be worth
it,
the show.
and I hope you guys can make it as well. And
Hoping, yeah. Maybe if my professor lets me out of class in time, hopefully I'll get there.
We'll
but
work on it.
We'll have to see.
What class are you taking at that time?
It's Theater 210, I think, is what it is.
okay.
So with Professor
really?
Simon
I'll talk to the
Provey.
guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you know him. He's a nice guy, but
he's okay. He's
Yeah.
okay too. He
Yeah.
shows me up too.
but that's exciting though. And then as the PFL continues to grow as well, you guys have a lot of exciting things.
They just announced Super Copa
Okay.
2015 in Orlando.
Wow.
That's going to be taking place in August. I believe the first weekend in August.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I believe it is the first weekend. So that's going to be huge. They have
What is the Super Copa?
they are announcing teams, but right now,
Is it like the
there's-
World Cup basically of
it's
futsal?
like kind of the World
And
Cup.
you have a big player coming
Yeah.
from Brazil.
You do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
We're excited for that.
Yeah,
That'll
we-
definitely be a great time.
We are. Okay, so we have that going on. But you can check out the professional futsalleague.com. They'll have all that information up there. And they have more stuff that they're releasing weekly, so a lot of exciting stuff coming that way. And then
That's exciting. Yeah, that's definitely going to be continues to grow. And is it going to be at the Wide World of Sports down?
yes,
in?
it's at the ESPN complex.
Yep, gorgeous
And
facility.
What's nice is also going on at the same time, which leads into our next thing is we're doing the World Futsal Tournament.
Okay.
We're holding it May 29th, 30th, 31st down at the Milwaukee Sports Complex.
Okay.
But what your team then can qualify to go down to Disney World and then compete in the USA World Futsal Championship.
Wow.
So they have all youth coming from Brazil to Germany to everywhere to kind of play in this.
Okay.
And the Super Copa goes on as well. So it's like kind of a fun
It's a huge
package.
event.
It
It's
is,
going to be
yeah.
huge.
And the event taken down at the going down at the Milwaukee Sports Complex. That is the only one in the Midwest happening
It
for
is the only one.
qualification.
Yeah, so everybody coming from St. Louis to Minneapolis are going to come down. That's the only place that they can compete because you have to compete to get invited down to the USA one down in
Okay.
Orlando.
As now, how do the specifics work? If you place in a certain spot, or do you have to win your group to go, or a certain amount of teams in a group will go, or all those details still kind of being figured out?
They're probably all figured
probably-
out, and Everton probably knows the answer.
See, that's
to
why
all
you should
of
have brought
them.
Everton. Now you know.
See, but now there's an excuse for him to come on. I do
Exactly.
know, like the people that qualify, they'll get down there.
Okay.
And so we teased a little bit about the Brazilian player that's going to be there. Falco
Yes.
Yes.
is the player that will be. Just want to make that official for everybody.
you. Thank
Teased him
you.
a little bit, but that's pretty cool. I mean, he's a World Cup veteran.
He is.
And to have him down there for an event like this, it shows how big it is.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing, and they're still releasing more information on that like weekly. So we will release that as well on our Facebook page, but you can like PFLs as well. But yeah, I mean that's exciting. So there's so many exciting things with futsal that are coming on, and we have also have our summer camps. So and to put out there, the nice thing with us is we're the only futsal league, a plug for us, futsal league camp and everything in all of Wisconsin area, actually anywhere that has Keith Tozer, who's not just the commissioner of PFL, but he's the head coach of the U.S. national team.
There you go. He's
So,
scouting
yeah,
early.
he can scout, and he actually there are success stories, which we're going to be posting of people that he found at
Oh,
different
that's
ID
exciting.
camps and stuff. So
Wow.
it can happen.
And you guys were just down last time we talked. You guys were down in Texas. You had an
We went
opportunity
down
to
to
go down
Dallas
there
with the
and
PFL.
Yep, and that was kind of an unveiling party, as it were, for some
Right.
of that things. You
Yeah,
guys played.
over 5,000 people in
Yeah,
attendance
sold
for
out.
the
Yep.
games.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, the sport is growing rapidly, and I know that you say that, it's kind of crazy how fast the growth is for Wisconsin Sports Group, but the Professional Futsal League as well continues. And the opening day isn't even until, is it the fall, I think, is when you said?
November,
next year.
November 2016.
So they still have another year before
Right.
this league officially opens, but it's the following that you're already obtaining is just massive, and it's incredible to see.
It's exciting because, 2 years ago when Keith said the word futsal to me, I had no idea what he was even talking about. And then I'd go into meetings and say futsal, and nobody knew. And now I can go into a meeting and say futsal, and people are excited about it.
Oh, yeah, futsal, yeah.
On a personal note, I remember when you on Facebook had posted, hey, I'm going to be working with the Wisconsin Sports Group and trying to grow the sport of futsal. And there were 4 or 5 of your friends who said, what, did you have an error on that? What do you mean futsal? So,
Exactly. They still probably don't. They're theater.
Those theater people, they don't understand.
and autocorrect's not working again, Allison.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Even for me, too, I didn't know what futsal was until I moved to Florida because the Hispanic population in Florida, they live and breathe futsal. I mean, you can play beach soccer, outdoor soccer, futsal, indoor, we play it all down in Florida, but futsal is huge, especially for the not as well-incomed families. Those kids, they have basically one ball and they play on the streets, and futsal is the game that they adapt. And you want those guys on your team because they have just fantastic technical abilities.
That's just it. It's so great for developing not only technical abilities but quick decision making.
Yes.
I coach at Strike FC, which is out in Lake Country here in Wisconsin, and my U8 daughter plays, and it's amazing seeing the difference from going out of winter last year to where, they played on a gym court, but wasn't really traditional futsal.
Mm-hmm.
So you really should sign them up for our league.
Oh,
Is that where we're going with this?
We could, yes. I'll talk to her about that.
We can host.
Let's play there. Let's play.
We can coach a team at the Midwest Qualifier and take them to Disney. That'd be a good.
But seeing the difference that we had our first outdoor games after the winter just on Saturday, which is why I'm so sunburnt. It's amazing how much quicker they are on the ball, just from the winter playing.
Well, because it's
futsal.
Yeah, they get more touches on the ball, with the heavier ball and everything and less players. I mean, that's why I think people of the outdoor game really do respect it and like it, because most players, not in the United States as much, but everywhere else, do play that. Everton grew up playing it,
right?
And then he played outdoor and indoor, but he grew up. That's his sport,
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason the Brazilian team has won 5 World Cups.
Exactly. Yeah. And somehow Germany, I don't know how they keep winning World Cups. They're just really good. They just mastered the outdoor game, I think, as a whole. But no, I even just as a player too, I'm playing futsal. It's intramural futsal right now here at the college, but it still is helped my touches. I don't play as much as I used to, but it certainly helps because that quick decision making. And then you go outside and you're like, wow, I'm 7 miles faster than everybody else just because I played futsal. I was in that confined area. And then once you have all that space, it's like, wow, it's such a totally different game. And you take that for granted sometimes. But futsal is just an exciting, fast-paced game that more people really should get involved with.
I hope so. They should. Why not?
That's why not.
And it sounds like
Simon?
it's happening.
Exactly. Yeah, people are getting involved with it. Well, I do have a question for social media purposes. Do you guys have an official hashtag or anything that people can find, like PFL Futsal or any of that fun stuff? I know it's kind of redundant, but
or a hashtag that we could get started.
Or a hashtag that we could get started.
Yeah, we
Start
don't
the
have
revolution.
a hashtag, but we should start one.
You should. Okay, because
should.
I was wondering because before the show I was trying to hashtag it appropriately for the platforms and stuff, and I'm I just hashtag futsal because I was I don't know if there's a branded futsal one that you guys want.
That'd even be a fun social media contest.
There you go.
What's the best
Come up
hashtag
with
you
a-
can get? Yeah.
there we go.
Win a Wisconsin Sports Group T-shirt or something.
Hey, yeah, that would be awesome. That would be a great idea. Okay, well, thank you, Allison. We really
thank you,
appreciate
guys.
it.
And hope to see you next Tuesday, and hope that you sign up for a team for your daughter.
Exactly. All right, well, Allison Phillips.
Anything else I can do? You guys let me know.
Sounds good.
All right.
You're already doing plenty for us, and we're excited for the partnership between Two Up Front and the
We are
Wisconsin
too.
Sports Group and just the continued growth of WSG as a whole.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of your day, and thanks for coming on. All right, Simon, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dos a Zero ringing still from the lands of Texas. We're going to chat about the U.S. men's national team 2-0 victory over Mexico. And then Jill Ellis has released her official 2015 Women's World Cup roster. We're going to chat about that and so much more when we come back. This is Two Up Front. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon, we had a great little first segment as Allison Phillips from the Wisconsin Sports Group jumped in to announce the new partnership between Two Up Front and the Wisconsin Sports Group. They are the first official sponsor of our show. We are very, very excited for that. They're in the process of developing a logo for us. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that's happening. So we're very excited to be joined with Wisconsin Sports Group, but especially with a nice person like Allison as well.
Absolutely, man. It's we talked last week about it's amazing how we just keep growing, and I feel like every time we're coming on here, we got something new to say.
There's nothing wrong with that, right?
We're
Keep
being
growing.
looked out for, and I'm very appreciative of it. But yeah, how awesome to have 6 shows into our relationship here.
Mm-hmm.
We have an official sponsor. That's awesome.
It's huge, yeah, and it's really exciting to see just how far the show has come in just a short amount of time. Now, speaking of developments within the soccer community, obviously our partnership is good, but one other partnership that continues to grow is the relationship between Michael Bradley and Jurgen Klinsmann and the U.S. men's national team as a whole. We saw the U.S. men's national team defeat Mexico 2-0.
What else would the scoreline be?
Exactly.
Right?
I was like, when it was 1-0, I was like, okay, two things is going to happen. Either Mexico's going to score and it's going to end 1-1, or we're going to score again and it's going to be 2-0, and the people are going to go crazy. And sure enough, Juan Agudelo.
I'm interested to see if the U.S. were to beet Mexico 3-0, how the American fans would respond to that. Because
like,
I'd almost
why?
be nervous for that to happen.
Has it ever happened? I don't know if we've ever gone 3-0 before.
Well, not since that night in Columbus when they were going to qualify for the 2002 World Cup.
I remember
that's what people
that.
forget, that it goes all the way back to 2001.
That's
the
right.
2-0. So
it's a long-standing tradition, and I think some people think it's, the U.S.-Mexico rivalry is, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, how it doesn't translate over into any other sports.
Right.
You don't hear about a USA-Mexico basketball game or a baseball game. It's like, no, it's USA-Mexico soccer, rightfully so. Mexico is a huge soccer community, and the U.S. continues to grow in their development as well. So that relationship makes sense.
I think the other thing that plays a huge part into it is up until the 90s, obviously, Mexico completely dominated the U.S.
They did.
But ever since, I believe it was a U.S. Cup win, old tournament the U.S. used to have.
Back in the day.
I want to say it was like 93 or something like that. The U.S. beat Mexico. And ever since then, when Mexico comes to the U.S. pretty much dominates it. At the same time, let's be honest, when the U.S. goes down to Mexico, except for this last World Cup cycle, it's usually a Mexican win.
Gosh,
so
Azteca is just a scary place to play, and we're going to dive into that a little bit later on in the show, talking about the CONCACAF Champions League final as well. But yeah, a 2-0 win for the United States. Goals coming from the most unlikeliest of heroes, Jordan Morris, a true Hollywood story, as it were. He was a little hyped before the match, saying he's getting his first start. I was surprised when I heard he was starting. I was like, okay, Klinsmann, what the heck are you doing here? But you know what? You have to sometimes throw a young, upcoming, talented player to the wolves, as it were, and say, just go. The only way you're going to learn is if you start and go through sometimes.
And you're going to have one of two reactions to that. You're either going to be nervous as all get out,
he was
that
terrified.
you can't perform, or you're going to totally seize the moment. And since it's, I don't want to say totally foreign to Jordan Morris, because he has played with other U.S. teams, but playing against Mexico, I do this in air quotes, at an away match for the U.S.
Yeah, really. Anything
in
south
San Antonio.
of, St. Louis is pretty much an away match.
Right. So for him to step into that, I think what may have helped him a bit is that naivete of, it's just, he doesn't fully understand that moment.
Exactly.
And it played in his favor.
He's a sophomore in college. He's 20 years old. I mean, yeah, we've heard of younger players like Julian Green and stuff, but
they're professionals. He's a professional.
He's being paid. Jordan Morris, after this game, went back to Stanford and went back to class.
And you almost wonder, with the league still growing, granted that game got huge ratings, but you almost wonder how many people had not realized what he had just gone through.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
on
people
the Stanford
fully
campus.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do with it, but it was funny watching the national anthem. I was watching it with my fiance, and I was trying to give her brief little snippets about why this game was important. Because she's like, "Why is the U.S.-Mexico game on?" I was like, "Okay, here we go. Let's U.S.-Mexico 2-0 101, as it were. Let's give you this fast." But and I told her who Jordan Morris was, and she was looking at him, and she's like, "He looks really nervous." I'm like, oh, "He is." I was like, "It's his first start. It's his third cap overall. It's his first start." And she's like, "It was obvious." And
you think about he's not only playing with MLS players, he's playing with DeAndre Yedlin, who just got his first few minutes with the first team in the Premier League. He's playing with somebody like Michael Bradley, who has been to Italy, he's been to Germany, he's been to England. And here's this guy coming out of Stanford College. Stanford University. I honestly don't know what it is, but here he is, a sophomore in college, stepping on the field with these seasoned pros. Yeah, you're going to be a little nervous.
Yeah,
I hope
just
you're
a
nervous.
little bit. I hope so. But yes, he finally seized the moment in the 49th minute, capturing a beautiful goal. Ball played in from Michael Bradley that ended up finding Gyasi Zardes, who was able to have the ball slide out. And Morris did what a normal forward is supposed to do. He continued his run and finished beautifully. And as soon as he shot the ball, I'm like, it's in.
But the confidence he exuded on that play.
It was very confident. Because normally, your first real start, your first real look at goal all game, 1,000 things could go wrong, and he kept his head down and he slotted the ball home perfectly, and thus resulting in his first international goal. Now, there's rumors of whether or not he'll go to MLS. He did play for the Seattle Sounders Academy. I think the Sounders did try to sign him along with a few other teams, saying, hey, you should come play. And he's like, no, I want to finish college and probably do the super draft or something like that. But because he has the ties to the Sounders Academy, I don't know if they have first dibs on him. I'm not
sure how that works. Yeah, since he'll have gone to college, probably have graduated if he sticks to his guns on that.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how that works anymore with a homegrown player or anything like that.
Exactly. And then we see this continued difference between, college basketball and college football players. Obviously, the soccer world operates in a totally different manner.
Right.
You can't play in academies for, the Milwaukee Bucks or the Green Bay Packers. Like, there's no academy for that.
No, the closest they have in the NBA now is obviously the National Basketball Development League.
Yeah, the D-League.
But even then, that tends to be more of players being shuffled down there, not so much to develop players like in soccer, how it is used to develop players from a young age.
And you can kind of maybe make an argument for the AA, AAA of baseball, the farm system, as it were.
Sure.
I mean, that's the closest I feel like.
But even then, you've got USL Pro for something like
exactly.
If you're really going to compare it that way, or NASL being our second division. But who scored our second goal for the U.S.?
That would be the New England Revolution's very own Juan Agudelo.
I had to let you have that
I thank you so much for that. I was hoping I would. In the 72nd minute, Juan Agudelo, a very good single effort by him, was able to turn over a defender and then fire a shot. And yes, the keeper got a full hand to it, but there was so much pace on that shot that it skipped off his hand into the back of the net.
And ironically, he came in for Morris.
He did.
And he came in within 7 minutes later. We see him getting a goal. What a great story that is as well. He was away in Europe going through his gypsy travels trying to find a team.
He hadn't even really played in about a year and a half, and he hadn't scored for the U.S. national team in 3 years. So that was a long time coming for him.
Long time.
He's not even that old.
No, he's not.
And the fact that he has been around, I feel like, for 3 years is very impressive. But we saw a lot of players for the U.S. men's national team. I think William Yarbrough was an interesting story coming on at halftime as the goalie. He plays in Liga MX. I don't know if you saw this when you watched the game. There was a brief moment in the second half where somebody played the ball back to Yarbrough in goal, and he didn't use his hands. I think he kicked it up to himself and chested it and caught it. And they showed Klinsmann's face at the same time, and he was grabbing his heart, why did you do that? The other assistant coaches were laughing because I think they were up 2-0 at that point. But even still, he was just like that boy, what is he doing?
Right.
It was a funny moment to see. But Simon, we both have our official player ratings for this game out of a 1 through 10 scale. So
sure.
Would you like to start, or would you like me to?
Well, let's have you start.
Okay, I will go through the starting lineup, and then we'll go back to the subs later.
Sounds good.
Starting in goal was Nick Rimando. I gave him a 6 purely because he didn't do a lot.
Okay.
He did see the ball a few times, and he did react well, but there was not enough big saves or big moments that he got called into action where I was like, yep, he clearly deserves an 8 or a 9 or a 10. He gets the shutout, obviously.
I'm going to agree with the 6, but for a different reason. Usually, a lot of people give a keeper a 5 if they didn't have much to do. But I'm going to bump it up just one, maybe a 5.5.
Sure.
Because of the move that Rimando had with his feet. As he had the Mexican player coming at him, he chopped it. He's done that in the league before too, and totally burned that player. So
it was good.
I give him credit for that. So I'll give him a 5.5.
As a coach watching, you just have to be like, what are you doing? That's literally the last person between you and the forward and the goal, and he just does a cute little move. And the fans loved it. The US fans loved it.
That also shows how the game has changed since I was a kid. Keepers didn't work on their footwork.
No.
It was all about making the saves and distributing that ball. But you see a lot of keepers now with great footwork, and I know Alexi Lalas likes to remind people of Rimondou's great ability, that if he wanted to, he could be a field player.
He probably could. I mean, he's kind of ageless like Kyle Beckerman in that regards.
Right.
Looking at the back four, you had DeAndre Yedlin, Omar Gonzalez, Ventura Alvarado, and Greg Garza. I gave Garza and Yedlin both 6s. I believe that there were times during the match that DeAndre Yedlin looked lost and forgot how to have a first touch. And Alexi Lalas mentioned this numerous times that Yedlin's speed is almost a smokescreen because he can get to the ball fast, he can retain the ball quickly, but then he almost forgets what to do with it after that.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to give him a 5 just for that reason as well. We still, that's one of the things that as a soccer nation we have to develop, an eye for skill. We still have this habit of, ooh, that's a big player. Let's get him on the team. Ooh, that's a fast player.
Yep.
Let's get him on the team. That's got to be secondary to the footwork that's
You're right.
out there. And Yedlin did look a bit lost. I will mark that up to him finally breaking through with Hotspurs and getting that first start and really focusing on his club situation. But the fact of the matter is, it's Mexico. They know how to play against this team, and you got to do better than that. So
exactly.
I'm going with a 5.
Okay.
For Garza, you talked about.
Yeah,
I'm going to
Garza.
agree with a 6 as well. I still think he's our left back.
I like him. I honestly like Greg Garza, and I think that's why I gave him a 6 because he did enough, but he wasn't called into action a ton as well. So you can only judge him off of so much. But when he had the ball, he looked like a solid left back option. He's a little bit bigger than a Fabian Johnson than some of those other guys in terms of physicality. And height-wise, he's probably about the same height as Fabian, but he really gave those Mexican wingers and forwards a lot of issues because of his physicality.
When I see him in there, I just see him really control that left side. And that's what you want from your left back. I don't care if he's going forward or not. You know, like when Shea's in there, he'll make his runs forward. It's great if you can do that, but first and foremost, I want to see you back there making those players realize that, you know what, we can't keep going down our right side of the field because their left back is so strong.
Exactly, and that's, I think, something that the U.S. has kind of struggled with depending on who is in. Fabian Johnson, kind of like a DeAndre Yedlin, except with a little bit better footwork, but also he's developed into more of an attacking player now, too. Looking at the center backs, Omar Gonzalez, I gave him a 7 because of the clean sheet. He did help post the clean sheet, but
he had a lot of header clearances.
He did have
well.
a lot of header clearances, but there were times where he looked slow and sloppy at times, where the Mexican players were Eric Cubo Torres. He's not a bad player by any means, but he's not the elite Mexican attacking players that if their first team would have been in there, I feel like they would have almost had a field day with some of the mistakes Gonzalez made.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm a bit subjective on this. I'm still not sold on Omar Gonzalez.
I'm not either.
He did better in the World Cup than I thought he would.
He did, yes.
But he makes me nervous when he's back there.
Yes. Now I'll ask you this: would you prefer, if you had to pick one, Gonzalez or Matt Beasler? If you only have one spot to fill on that center back line, it's Gonzalez or Matt Beasler. Who is it?
I don't feel confident with either of those two. If this was a year ago, I can tell you I'd be saying Beasler. But
same for me.
He's not been having a great season in MLS. Obviously doing well. Sporting's doing better, and that all starts with their back line. I'll tell you what, I'd go with Gonzalez. Today,
right? On April 21st, 2015, you'd take him. All right. And then I gave Ventura Alvarado an 8. We were trying to figure out who the official man of the match was. He was the one that won man of the match.
Is that right?
Because Jordan Morris. Do you want to explain that to the people that don't know?
So Jordan Morris, they wanted to name him man of the match, but since he's a college student, they couldn't because the award is sponsored by Budweiser.
And he's only 20. He's not even legal drinking age.
That's what it is.
Age.
Yes. He's 20, so he's not 21. He's not legal drinking age. So because the award is sponsored by Budweiser, they couldn't award the award to him.
But he did get a nice consolation prize. Michael Bradley gave him the flag, the Mexican flag,
that's right.
The banner that the captains exchanged before the game. So he didn't give him any beer, unfortunately, but he got I would take the captain flag too over some of that. But I gave Alvarado an 8. I thought he looked very good. That's the first time I'd ever seen him play, but I thought out of between him and Gonzalez.
He played in either the Denmark or the Switzerland game.
Okay, I didn't get a chance to catch those games. That's probably why.
Whichever one it was, he was very sloppy, and I was nervous seeing him in here again. Though I appreciate Klinsmann giving him another shot because you play your first game. Unlike Jordan Morris, you got to expect those nerves to really be
especially on
the
defense.
Right, yes.
I feel like it's almost more pressure on a first start on defense than it is on offense.
So I'd almost give him an 8 for that, but I'm going to still keep him at a 6 because of his sloppy play, and there were instances where I thought, oof, he's working in this, he's doing much better. But I'd like to see him do even better to give me that confidence as a viewer, as a fan of the team.
Yep. Looking at the midfield, they had 4 midfielders in there: Kyle Beckerman, Mix Diskerud, Joe Corona, and Michael Bradley. Beckerman, I gave him a 6 because I thought he did just enough to help out.
I agree with that. I actually gave him a 6 as well, and part of that is he did a lot of the work that needed to be done.
Yep.
He couldn't distribute that ball, but I actually don't put that on him. I thought some of that movement was lacking from the off-ball movement from the players.
There was, yes.
So he couldn't distribute the ball like we did see him distribute during the World Cup.
Yes. Yep, he had that. He partnered with Jermaine Jones a lot and Bradley as well and did a great job of distribution, but also tracking back on defense as well. And he's on the other side of 30 as well, yet still looked pretty good during the World Cup. I mean, in this game he didn't look terrible, but like I said, the note I have is he did just enough to help out.
I agree with
Wasn't
that.
dynamic,
Yep.
didn't change the game, but he did enough.
Which is okay. Sometimes that's all you want from a player.
Exactly.
You know, you don't have to always be the game changer
Yep.
to get a higher ranking, but you got to do your job.
Yes, yep, exactly. Now, I gave Mix Diskerud an 8 because I thought he was absolutely dynamic
Great
on
game.
the right wing.
Box to box.
I haven't seen him play that style of soccer in a long time, and I was thrilled by it. And you could hear the commentators; they kept remarking about Mix Diskerud. He'll go away when he needs to, and then he comes back and makes those plays. And it wasn't like he goes away like he's not being used. He knew how to drift up and down the right wing and then shoot in for that ball from Bradley.
And again, talking about distribution, he was one of those players that no matter what, he seemed to be able to get that ball to whoever he wanted to.
Left
that
foot,
whole
right
game.
foot. He found a way to get it in.
I totally agree with that 8, Baxter.
Okay. Joe Corona. This man surprised me. Now, Joe Corona has had many mixed reviews. He was causing trouble up and down the field, especially from a physical standpoint. I thought he might get yellow carded. I don't think he ever ended up going in the book, but he was very physical, and he frustrated Mexico's midfield a lot because they weren't expecting, I feel like, a player of Corona who's not a very big guy, but he still caused a lot of issues and did make some really good runs as well.
Well, it wasn't just the Mexico team that he was frustrating, I'll be honest with you.
Yes.
He was frustrating me as well. I'm a big cheerleader for this guy. I want to see him do well, but I'm actually going to give him a 6. He had a few decent passes in there, but he lost the ball way too many times for my liking.
Sure, yep.
He had some nice one-on-ones that he won, but you got to win more balls to get a higher grade.
No, okay, that's fair. Michael Bradley, the captain, I gave him a 9. The only reason I didn't give him a 10 is there is a few times where he was just a little too excited for things to happen, and he would play a ball too quick, and the guys weren't running or ready. And maybe that's on the other players too, but he controlled the field, and he looked like he was the captain. He was the general of the field. The entire game went through Michael Bradley, and he commanded it wonderfully.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I'd probably give him an 8.5, to be honest with you. I think I'm a professor, so maybe I'm a little tougher on my
right.
grading. But
Give him an AB,
he
not an
contributed on both goals.
He did.
So that's why he gets that 0.5 instead of just the 8.
Okay.
But I agree with you. He was a general on the field. We saw the Michael Bradley of yore.
Yes.
We saw the pre-World Cup Michael Bradley. And again, you don't know if that goes up to them just knowing how the Mexican team plays since they play each other so often, and he's just really confident when he gets to play against Mexico, or if we're seeing that rebirth of the general.
Yeah, that's very possible. Had he played this way that he did if he would have played like this during the World Cup or like he played leading up to the World Cup, I would like to make a solid argument that the U.S. would have gone farther than they did.
That's a very fair
because
assessment.
Bradley is.
He had a horrible World Cup.
He did.
I mean, let's look at the ball he gave away against Portugal. That led
Yeah.
to them tying up the game.
Yep, exactly. It's true, and it's hard to know, and that's the thing with soccer too. It's such a hard game to fully wrap your mind around unless you actually are in the moment. So you don't know what these players are dealing with, what he was dealing with pre-World Cup, post, during the World Cup, after, especially in a game like a rivalry game.
Right.
You could be having the worst week ever, but it's like, hey, this is U.S. Mexico, got to step up, and we saw that from him.
And along with that, the Klinsmann's a big fan of the diamond in the midfield.
He is,
and he used it against Mexico again, and I'm really hoping that this is the evolutionary step in that diamond because the U.S. has struggled when they played that diamond.
Yes.
But when you have Bradley up on top of that diamond playing well as he did against Mexico, that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, and that was an argument that Alexi Lalas kept bringing up as well during the broadcast. He's like, where do you play Michael Bradley? Because he has these games where he is all over the field, or games where he's like, is Bradley on the field right now? Like, I don't know where he is. Like, he's just, it's so hard. But
and that's the thing when you pair him up with Jermaine Jones, they're almost so much
They are.
alike that you don't know who to put where. A lot of times they would get caught up field together, even when they're trying to play that diamond.
Exactly, and that's hard, and we'll definitely see what happens once Jones comes back, if he goes back to the defense or if he does scoot up to that midfield spot. Looking at the two forwards, Gyasi Zardes and Jordan Morris, I gave Zardes a 5. I thought he tried to play too much like Jozy Altidore, and he's not built for that.
He's not built for that. We actually talked about this. We completely agreed on this before the show.
Yep.
That, yes, Zardes was trying to play that Jozy Altidore role when really I don't think he had to.
No, I don't think so.
You know, he's more of a skill player. Josie's great at holding players up, getting that ball and being tough on it and getting that spin around and taking that shot on goal. Zardes is more of a technique-based player. He'll take players on one-on-one. He'll make those fantastic runs into the box and be served it, and not to hold up the play, but to actually take those one-touch strikes.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what Klinsmann had probably told him, too, going into the game, saying, look, Josie's not here for this game. We need you to be a Jozy-like. And Alalis kept criticizing him for that, saying he's not holding up play. He's not playing that traditional center forward spot. And rightfully so, he really wasn't. You know, I like Zardes on the wing. I think that's what he does best, especially for LA. They let Robbie Keane run the offense in the front, and then Zardes kind of drifts around on the wings, and then they feed him, and he scores bunches of goals like he normally does. Jordan Morris, I gave him a 6. Once he got over his nerves, I thought he did good. His scoring that goal obviously is important. I don't think he did enough to earn a higher grade than a 6, at least in my book. There were times where he had moments of brilliance, but then times where he looked like a college kid on the field.
Yeah, I will. He didn't really appear much in the first few minutes of the game because of those nerves. I think I'd probably give him a little bit higher than that, believe it or not, just because I'm giving him some extra credit for being, again, not to sound like a professor, right? But I'm giving him some extra credit for being only a sophomore in college, playing on such a huge stage. Yes, he took a while to get into the game, but a straight-up professional would have a tough time in their first cap playing into that game.
Oh, of course.
But once he did, man, obviously he scores a goal. And, yeah, I'm going to give extra points for somebody who puts that goal in there.
Nothing wrong with that
So you
at
gave
all.
him a 6. I'm going to give him a 7.
Okay. I think it's the first one you've rated someone higher
That
than
is,
I have.
yes.
Okay.
Well, it's a college student. I've got a little soft place.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that. You never do that for my papers when you grade them. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, looking at the rest, there were 4 subs that weren't used. Of that, Lee Wynn from the Revolution, Julian Green. Once again, why does he get called if he doesn't play? Chris Wondolowski, and then Matt Beasler as well. So 2 forwards-ish with Julian Green. It depends on the day.
Right.
A midfielder, and then Matt Beasler not coming in. But would they have been helpful? I don't know. I don't think Wando would have. I think the 3 guys that played with Juan Agudelo coming in was a needed burst of...
It would have been nice to see Lee Wynn back in there since they were playing so well.
Yeah.
I'd like to see how he fits into a system like that.
I probably would have put Wynn on for maybe Bradley or Diskerud. I mean, yes, Bradley played the whole game. He did have a tremendous game, but even once they were up 2-0, I would have probably put in Wynn and say, you know what, Bradley, you've done a fantastic job. Let's let some of these other guys that haven't played as much come on in. Of the subs,
I'm sorry, but especially knowing there were MLS games to be played on the weekend.
Exactly, and we saw TFC drop, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But looking at all the subs that did come in, you had William Yarbrough in goal, Breck Shea on defense, Perry Kitchen in the midfield, a little surprised by that, Brad Evans, even more surprised by that, Miguel Ibarra, and Juan Agudelo. Out of all of those, I gave Agudelo a 7.
Oh, you have to.
You did. Out of all the subs that came in, he got the best grade. I don't really feel like we need to talk about the other subs. Breck Shea did I thought Breck Shea played well.
He did play well. He did. He did come in for Garza at left back.
Yep.
And we saw him again make some of those runs, try to spark himself up into the Mexican defense. Which again, I'm okay with that as long as you're not getting goals scored against you.
Exactly,
on the other end.
if you can track back. And I think that the U.S. have 3 solid options at that left back now with Garza, Fabian Johnson, and Breck Shea.
Yeah, I was happy to see Ibarra finally get in the game and actually get some decent minutes. And he didn't do anything special, but I thought he did well enough for, again, a 5 like we'd give a goalkeeper who wasn't there to do much.
Exactly, and it's funny because you at one point had an NASL player on the field, you had a college student on the field, and then you had international, MLS, Europeans.
That's a great
all
observation.
on the same team.
Yeah.
And for anybody else, if you had told that U.S. fans even 10 years ago, maybe not even that far, maybe 4 years ago, they would have been like, what? why is a college kid playing? Why is an NASL guy playing? Like,
Right.
you don't understand that. But now the concept with the fact that Ibarra is changing the game of the NASL and now part of Minnesota United as well.
And here's the old man perspective. Back when I started watching them,
Back in your day,
they were all college kids.
That's true.
Only John Harkes was a professional player, and that was because he went from college over to play with Sheffield Wednesday in England.
Wow.
Everybody else was a college student.
I love it. The more you know. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, U.S. women's national team roster has been released. And then we're going to take a look at the weekend in review and the CONCACAF Champions League final. Don't go anywhere. This is 2 Up Front. Welcome back to another edition of 2 Up Front. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon, we're going to chat briefly about the 2015 Women's World Cup roster for the United States. Jill Ellis, the head coach, officially releasing the group of 23 women that will represent the United States.
Yeah, she released this a little bit early. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, you're fine.
But she released it a little bit earlier than most people expected, it seems.
She did, and I think that it was a smart move, too, because a lot of people were pretty much assuming that most of these players, I haven't heard too much scandal or controversy that's like, oh, this player was left off the roster, to my knowledge. I could be totally wrong in that.
But do you think some of that is people still learning about the women's game?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you look at a lot of these names on the roster, and it's pretty much obvious that these are the players you know. When you identify U.S. women's soccer, obviously Hope Solo, obviously Abby Wambach, Alex Morgan, those are going to be the first, probably 3 names out of any, kind of even casual U.S. women's fan, and along with all the other players on the roster. But looking at this roster, Simon, they're going to bring 3 goalkeepers, rightfully so. Ashlyn Harris, Alyssa Nair, and Hope Solo. 9 times out of 10, Hope Solo is going to more than likely start. I don't see why she wouldn't. This is her 3rd World Cup.
3rd World Cup. I hope she's... I'm not going to say it. I'm not a fan of her personal life. Let me just say that.
I think a lot of people really aren't. And there was questions of whether or not Jill Ellis was going to actually even bring her because of the off-field issues. But realistically, I think this will probably be Hope's last World Cup. I think there's going to be a massive changing of the guard after this World Cup.
I think there will have to be because, a few of these players like Abby as well. Abby Wambach is getting up there.
Yeah, this is Abby Wambach's 4th World Cup. I mean, you gotta. After everything she's gone through, she's broken her leg. She's lost blood on the field. She's had numerous injuries, and darn it, she's going one more World Cup.
And you do hope for somebody like her that
she finally gets it.
She gets it.
Yeah, because she just missed when the women won it back in 90. Was it 4, 8?
The last time they won it was 99.
99. I'm sorry.
That was the Mia China
Hamm
in the Rose Bowl.
That's right. Yep. And Abby Wambach was not a part of that.
I don't think so.
I'd have to do the math. 11, 7. No. I think she missed it. I think she missed that one. I don't know how to do math.
That was
quickly.
The Brandi Chastain.
That was
taking off the shirt moment.
Yep, and the honor knee is going crazy with everybody else. So looking through the rest of the roster, they're bringing 8 defenders with them. Lauren Chepley, Whitney Engine, a really exciting young product. Julie Johnson, Megan Klingenberg, Ali Krieger, another exciting product. Kelly O'Hara, Christine Rampone. She is playing in her 5th World Cup.
Yeah, and I'm looking here right now.
She's ageless.
There are only 4 other players in the world to have done that. Christine Lilly of the U.S.
Yep.
Formiga of Brazil.
Oh, sure.
Birgit Prinz, the great Birgit Prinz of Germany, won many Female Players of the Year awards. And then Sawa of Japan. So we see now another U.S. player.
Respect, yeah,
absolutely.
So good for them to have that. And then they conclude with Becky Sauerburn as well. So that defense is full of a lot of options. Now you get to the exciting part of the team, the midfielders and the forwards. They're taking 7 midfielders. Shannon Box, a 4 World Cup veteran. I think if there's any question, and maybe you'd be adding box. But it's
I think it's the leadership.
It is.
And the toughness factor of who she is.
I agree. Yep. I don't know if she'll start, but I
Sure.
think having her presence there will be huge. Morgan Bryan from the Houston Dash, she's just an exciting product and has been really exploding. Tobin Heath, really one of the next great attackers.
Yeah, I'm excited about her.
Now, are you a Portland Thorns FC fan? Of
course I am.
Okay,
Yes.
I didn't know if because I don't know how close you follow the NWSL.
PTFC.
There you go. No matter what, no matter
That's
which way
right.
you look at it, exactly. Lauren Holiday, she's a great player for FC Kansas City. Carly Lloyd, probably the most dynamic midfielder the U.S. has seen in a long time. I mean, you can make arguments about Megan Rapinoe and then Mia Hamm and a lot of the other great ones, but Carly Lloyd in her third World Cup, well, she's a 3 World Cup
This
veteran
will be
now.
a 4th, right?
Yep, so
Right.
she is really looking forward to being able to make a name for herself. And she's been bloodied. She's done everything. She has had some brilliant goals during the World Cup years, and it'll be another great time to see her. Then you look at Heather O'Reilly and then Megan Rapinoe. Megan Rapinoe, obviously, with that highlight reel cross against Brazil to Abby Wambach in extra time to let the U.S. win that game in the 2001 World Cup.
11.
11,
Right?
yep,
Yeah,
in 2011, yep. And then you look at the forwards, arguably the most talented group of forwards. I think it's hard to compare them to the men's game, but not many even international men's teams have this much depth and attacking prowess between 5 players. You have Sydney LaRue Dwyer. Now, I wonder if she's going to get the hyphen jersey. I doubt it, but because Alex Morgan's married too, technically. Did you know that Sydney LaRue and Alex Morgan's husbands play for SKC?
I did not know
They
that.
both
Really?
play for Sporting,
Oh, okay,
yep.
Okay.
Somebody made...
Who is Alex Morgan's husband?
I
Do you
don't know his
Okay,
name. I
okay.
don't know.
Anyways.
Somebody made the joke the other day. It's like, wow, if their husbands score as much as they do, I mean, they'll be the best players in MLS.
Right,
I'm like,
yeah,
that's true. I
yeah.
mean, that'd be great. So Alex Morgan. Then you have Kristen Press, a very exciting young product. Amy Rodriguez, and then the veteran Abby Wambach. Arguably, is she the greatest or top 2 or 3? It's hard to compete against Mia.
Michelle Akers and Mia Hamm will always be, for me, the 2 best U.S. women players of all time.
And then you probably Abby's got to be third. You
Sure, you can put her up there.
You almost
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
say. I mean, not for sure.
It's
but
tough because those teams. It's tough to say because those teams in the '90s, early '90s through the late '90s, those teams, the pioneers of the game, basically.
Yes.
They had a lot of great players, but then you look at how much the women's game has grown worldwide now. You wonder, would a Mia Hamm, Michelle Akers, if they were playing now, would they be as dominant now
That's a
as
good
they were
question,
then?
yeah.
So it's one of those. Can you really have that argument? Probably not. I'm not sure.
No, that's true, and the game has evolved so much, and the speed and the pace of the game, especially, has really evolved. I did find one interesting thing. The youngest player on the team is Morgan Bryan. She's 22. The oldest is Rampone. She will be turning 40 during the tournament on June 24th. Shannon Box is 38. And then you also look at 2 other fun facts. All 9 of the NWSL clubs have a player or 2 representing them on the roster. And then 15 players on this roster, Simon, have all played for the USA in a FIFA Women's World Cup at the youth level.
That's excellent because that's experience that you need to have. That's what can be so frustrating on the men's side is not qualifying for these big tournaments, not qualifying for the Olympics as they did the last time around. That they didn't qualify is what I'm saying the last time around. That's experience that you can't teach, obviously. And that's one of Klinsmann's biggest concerns. But the flip side is this is Klinsmann's system.
Exactly. Yeah,
So-
that's just kind of how he is. And it's hard to compare women's coaches, with Pia Sundhage and
Yep.
Jill Ellis to, Tom Sermanni for a very brief moment, compared to Jurgen Klinsmann, Bruce Arena, who is
Bob Bradley.
I couldn't think of his name. But
Bora Milutinovic,
sure.
Bob Gansler.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of
Keep
him.
going.
Okay, I've heard of him. Okay, I was like, you lost me. But speaking of qualifying, it takes a lot to qualify for a major tournament. And segueing over to the CONCACAF Champions League final, the first of the 2 legs begins tomorrow evening. The Montreal Impact will be taking on Club America. It's
At a sold-out Estadio Azteca, 105,000 people. It'll be the largest crowd in CONCACAF Champions League history.
which is amazing. And I'm sure there'll be even more people trying to sneak ways into that game. Now, it's funny because you look at it's really David and Goliath, no matter which way you look at it. Because yes, you have to give Montreal credit. They've made it this far. They've made it all the way to the final. Only one other MLS team has ever done it in history, RSL, in the CONCACAF Champions League setting,
Right.
that is. But they have made it this far, and then you flip back to how they do in MLS, and they are just atrocious.
Well, I think part of that is their focus
Because,
right now
yes.
is on Champions League. I'd look at Everton, my club that I support in the Premier League. The Europa League has traditionally hurt teams in their league play, and not for that great of a payoff. We look at Everton. When they were playing in the Europa League, they were doing great in Europa, but they're doing horrible in the Premier League.
Yes.
Ever since they've been out of Europa League, they're on like a 6-game non-losing streak right
Look at
now.
that. I love it, non-losing, which means they probably tied a lot of games.
Well, I think they've had 2 or 3 wins in a row now, but the point is much better results while they weren't in the league.
Exactly.
So we have Montreal. Their season's just starting for MLS. Really,
It is.
when you
It's
look
a
at
long
it.
season. They've
It's
got
a long
plenty of
season.
time.
So if they're focused on doing well in CONCACAF, the league has been supportive. You've had 2 teams now already postpone games, so
Yep.
Montreal can focus on Champions
Very
League.
professionally done.
I don't think it's as big of as an anomaly when you look at the intricate ways in which CONCACAF Champions League versus MLS works with a specific team like Montreal. I think they're purposely focusing on Champions League, which is why they're doing so poorly
And you
in
have
MLS.
to, and for a normal MLS fan, you would understand that. But as an outsider looking in, you're like, well, Montreal's awful. They'll get killed. Well, all their eggs are in the proverbial, CONCACAF basket right now because they want to have a good result. And obviously, if Club America comes in and just blows them out, I think some people will still say, well, look, this was still a good step for MLS as a whole.
Well, absolutely.
It kind of all depends on how you want to look at it, though.
I do think they're going to do well at home.
I think so.
And speaking of which, at home, they've already sold over or very near 60,000 tickets up in
Holy cow.
Montreal. So this is what's exciting about this is we're seeing the whole region really start to respect the Champions League, which we haven't seen before.
No.
So we're seeing a final that has 2 sold-out games, and of course one of those being at Azteca. That's huge.
It is.
What we could see is Montreal really exploit Club America with the counterattack, and I think that's really what they have to base it on because they need to hold back on that defense. Hey, we saw how big it was that Montreal didn't allow goals in their last 2 series at home.
Yep.
If they can do the same thing here, granted, we saw what Club America did to Herediano.
Oh, my gosh. That's
Putting up 6 goals.
Yep.
We could see that at home. But the only way Montreal can set themselves up for success in that second leg is obviously by doing so well in the first leg.
Yes. Do you have a brief prediction for tomorrow night's game in Azteca?
Oh, I'll tell you what. I'm as much as I'm talking here about if they can hold Club America, I'm going to go 4-0 Club America tomorrow night.
Okay, I was going to be generous and go 3-1.
Okay.
I think Montreal will find a goal in a weird way.
And I said that a little bit wrong. I was speaking as if they're playing at home first. They're not playing at home. They're playing away.
Yes.
If they can get a goal tomorrow,
That's huge.
that will be huge.
Absolutely huge.
But I'm knowing how well Club America played its last 2 rounds. I mean, it took out a Saprissa 5-0, and Saprissa is one of the giants of CONCACAF.
It's true.
And let's face it, Club America is one of the 2 or 3 giants of our region.
Yes.
And they're taking this tournament very seriously.
Yep, that is very true. And it'll be interesting to see how it transpires over the next, next week and a half or 2 weeks, I believe, is when the tournament as a whole will be concluding. Looking back briefly, we will not have predictions for you today. We will have them on Thursday. That way we can have a better idea of what's going on. We had a lot to squeeze in today's show. Before we go to one last break and then come back to play I Believe, Simon, a brief review of the week that was in MLS. You saw a few teams play 2 games, New York City FC and Philadelphia Union on Thursday. They tied 1-1. Manny Bellucci had a beautiful curling left-footed shot,
Yes,
but then
he did.
Philly found a way to play the bad guys. They were both the teams that will be playing another game again later on. And then you look ahead to the New York Red Bulls continuing to be unbeaten. We'll have to have a solid discussion about whether or not they deserve the first place spot in our power rankings or if Vancouver deserves that spot, but they also have 3 games over New York.
That's a game, that 2-0 win over San Jose. That was, they just completely controlled that game.
That was a
all the
statement
way
win
through.
for them.
Yes, it was.
It really was. DC United and Houston Dynamo on Saturday tied 1-1. Not too much of a surprise, I don't think, on that one. It wasn't anything too great. Columbus going 3-0 on Orlando. I was a bit surprised by that. And that's
we both were. We both picked Orlando in our predictions.
Because we haven't seen enough from Columbus yet.
That's right. So maybe we finally are. But the next game, Dallas and Toronto, I was watching as much as I could. They had a huge rain delay in the middle of that game.
Yeah.
By the time they came back on, I think 15 people were left in the stands. But you're watching FC Dallas. They're up 3-0. And then Giovinco from Toronto gets a restart goal, which was amazing. And then he puts in one more goal. I think they were a minute or 2 minutes apart. And I'm starting to think, oh boy, because you picked Toronto FC.
Yeah.
I picked FC Dallas, which, by the way, you're up on me 3 games overall.
Okay.
So I was really excited thinking, hey, I'm finally going to get a win here.
Yep.
And thankfully I still did.
You
But
did.
Giovinco, man, he single-handedly made that an interesting game at the end there.
He did, and I went back and checked this game too, and all of the stars were on the field. Bradley
They were.
and Altidore
They were.
and Giovinco.
But again, you had Altidore, Bradley on 90 minutes with the
And he
the
wasn't
US
very
team.
effective. I
No,
checked,
not in
even
Toronto,
looking at his
right.
stats and Josie's stats, they weren't effective at all, and it's just an odd anomaly to me personally.
Sure.
Seattle and Colorado, the Sounders go 3-1 on the Rapids. Some people thought that since Colorado put up 4 on FC Dallas last week, and there was an opportunity for another upset. No, not happening.
We
Seattle
certainly
shut
didn't
the
see
door.
it. Yeah. Obafemi Martins, did you see the goal that he
Beautiful goal.
Gets the ball over the top, does a spin around, puts it in the goal. It was another nomination for goal of the week.
It might be, and people are already saying goal of the year candidate as well. And then Vancouver going 1-0 against RSL. I think I had RSL in this game.
No, you had Vancouver. I
Did
had
I?
RSL.
Really?
The red cards are killing me,
That's
though.
right, I wasn't here. I know, that's right.
Yes, Real Salt Lake gets a red card. There was another game that somebody else got a red card that messed me up in my predictions as well. But those are the unpredictable
Oh, it
things.
was Columbus.
Was it Columbus?
I think Columbus got a red
Okay.
card. Well, Orlando got the red card, and
Right,
then Columbus was
right.
able to score.
And then something happened in the Sporting LA game as well. I can't remember what that was.
Yeah. But Galaxy go 2-1 against Sporting Kansas City, but despite really good plays from Dwyer and Benny Fellhopper as well in that
Yeah,
game.
it was a pretty even game, and I thought Sporting might pull it off with how well they're playing away against LA. But Galaxy do what they do.
Yes,
Get that win
yep,
against
they were
a
able
good
to
Sporting
prevail.
Kansas City team.
Exactly. And then the 2 games on Sundays, you had the New England Revolution coming from behind to beat the Philly Union 2-1. Some great plays overall by that team. And then Portland getting that victory, the only game of the week. I kind of forgot. I'm like, is Portland play this week? And then sure enough, the late Sunday night game, they go 1-0 against New York City.
You picked Portland, and I picked New York. Simply because the last time I picked Portland, they lost, and I said, all right, I'll go with New York on this one, hoping that I'm wrong.
for the best on that
But
one.
either way, I set myself up to be happy either way.
Exactly, yeah. It's kind of like that closet thing where you're like, I really hope I hope my pick is right, but at the same time, if they defy my pick, I'm not going to complain too much.
And by the way, Baxter, because of that Portland win, you ousted me by 1 game on the predictions.
I love
Again.
it. I love it. Well, briefly looking at the updated standings, 1st through 6th in the Eastern Conference, you have the Red Bulls, DC United, Revolution, Columbus, Orlando, and Chicago. Chicago getting a little bit of luck because of NYCFC, and Philly kind of floundering at the end. They all have 6 points. But it's kind of a hot mess there in the bottom of the East. And then over the West, the top 6
Look
teams
at the
are...
West. You got Vancouver, FC Dallas, LA Galaxy, Seattle Sounders, San Jose Earthquakes, Houston Dynamo. But listen to this. Starting in 5th place, the Earthquakes have 9 points. Houston has 9 points. Real Salt Lake has 9 points. Portland has 9 points. Sporting has 9 points.
You know, the funny thing is that the Colorado Rapids, the worst team in the West, could make the playoffs in the East. Hypothetically,
You are absolutely right. They could.
I thought that
It
was-
just,
I thought
just
that
goes
was
back
hilarious.
to going back to talking about the West as
West
the best and the East as the least.
Exactly. All right, one more quick break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our I Believe segment. This is 2 Up Front. Don't go anywhere, folks. Welcome back to Two Up Front. I'm Baxter Colburn. And
This is Simon
I think
Provan.
I
was thinking. Sorry.
It's all good. I'm like, and Simon's gone. This is just one up front now. We've subbed off Simon,
It's
apparently.
like a conversation I've had with my wife many times. Simon, are you there? Are you listening?
Simon? Hello? Okay.
Bueller.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Simon, before we go today, it is time for our new, or not our new segment, but the new sound for our segment. If you haven't gathered by now, it's time for our I Believe segment. I
Nice, though. I like
so
the
excited that
sound
we
bite. Very
finally got that. So, Simon, would you like to lead off for our I Believe segment before
I
we
will.
take off?
I will lead off. So we've been talking about the belief in the show. I talked about last week being a big believer in this show, but I'm actually going to talk about MLS attendance numbers.
Okay.
For the first time, it looks like MLS could finish the season with an average attendance over 20,000.
Holy cow,
It
that'd
helps.
be huge.
It helps that the Earthquakes are out of Buckshot. It helps that Chivas USA is no longer in the league.
Yes.
It helps having two very successful expansion clubs out of the gate. So I'm going to go with the club is averaging over 20,000 fans a game for the first time ever. I believe the league will finish with an attendance average over 20,000.
That is incredible. All right. Well, for me, I am going to use my I Believe statement on the U.S. men's national team. I believe that the U.S. men's national team will score 2 goals against the Netherlands when they play them on June 5th.
Hey, speaking of the U.S. team, did you see that the U.S.-Mexico game in total viewership, 4.5 million?
I did see that.
It outpaced the NHL Stanley Cup playoff game between Chicago and St. Louis.
Who
Or
follows
Chicago
hockey?
and whatever.
Nashville, I
Yeah,
think. I don't know.
I don't.
Some
follow,
teams.
and I'm not ripping on hockey.
No,
not at all.
Soccer's better.
But I was amazed and happy to see how well the ratings were.
Yes. Yeah.
Now MLS ratings, we got those.
We got to
up.
keep driving them up. But another exciting edition of Two Up Front. Simon, where can the good people find us on social media once
You
again?
can find us at Facebook at 2UpFront and on Twitter at 2UpFrontSoccer.
Special thanks to Wisconsin Sports Group's Allison Phillips for coming on. If you haven't heard, we are officially partnered with Wisconsin Sports Group now. I'm really excited for the future that we have with them and for the future of the show as well, Simon.
Yeah, speaking of social media, please go to Wisconsin Sports Group, like their page. You'll find other pages that they have going as well. The Midwest Futsal Tournament is going on. Make sure you like that page. Go there for all the information that you need about Wisconsin Sports Group.
Yes, indeed. For Simon Provan, I'm Baxter Colburn, with our manager being the one above. We are Two Up Front. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you on Thursday.